Coming off of a successful pay-per-view in No Mercy, NXT really needed to show up and show out to continue this momentum, and that's exactly what they did, putting on possibly the best NXT episode of the year. Hi, my name is Coach, and this is your go-to channel for everything relating to NXT and TNA, so let's look at what happened on this episode of NXT. The show opens with Trick Williams in the ring saying that after he's done with Pete Dunne, he wants his NXT championship back. This makes Ethan Page come out and make it known that he's the NXT champ and that's his NXT championship, not Trick Williams, and that Trick Williams will not be facing him for the championship anytime soon. Before anything else can happen, Trick Williams is jumped by Pete Dunne and all the security guards have to pull them apart. We take a look at what's happening backstage where everything is chaotic as Hank and Tank are preparing for their tag team match, but they're confronted by Callis and the two teams squabble, but behind them Jada Parker is arriving at the arena and then Fatal Influence arrive and they mock her for losing that NXT championship match she had at No Mercy. Jada Parker then challenges Jasmine Nix to a match and that is what happens later tonight. We then get the triple threat number 1 contendership match for the tag team championships between the Rascals, Hank and Tank, and Gallus. And although the Rascals aren't signed to NXT, they're probably the most over team in NXT. Hell, I'd even go to say they're the most over tag team in the whole world of wrestling right now. And they go on to win this match, but during the match, Hank and Tank get attacked by the Good Brothers continuing their feud, and Joe Coffey tried to interfere, but he got jumped by Javon Evans continuing their feud, making it a pretty easy job for the Rascals to win this match. Backstage, Fraxium is being interviewed and they're congratulated for winning the tag team championships, but the Rascals interrupt their interview and these two teams have a bit of a mouth off. The Rascals are ready to take those tag team championships back and they apologize for Fraxium's short reign, but Axiom and Nathan Frazier then say that they remember when they were singles individuals and how that cost them their championships. And now that Zachary Wentz is a singles competitor, it's going to cost the team their match. Trick Williams is then also interviewed in his locker room, asked about Pete Dunne, when suddenly Pete Dunne barges into the locker room and he brawls with Trick Williams. This brawl also gets broken up, but it'll happen again later tonight. Lexis King then faces Oro Mensah, and I don't really feel Oro Mensah. They keep trying to push him as this babyface, and I see what they're trying to do, but it just isn't working really well. I think we need Noam Dar back, maybe that can help Oro Mensah a bit, but right now as is, I'm not really feeling him. Regardless, during the match, Lexis King pushes Oro Mensah into the corner and he basically insults his father who got burned badly in the past, and this rages Oro Mensah. He turns the table and starts laying a furious strikes on Lexis King, but at the end of the day, this didn't matter. Lexis King got the victory and gets some more momentum. There's been a bit of debate recently whether or not Lexis King has been better in NXT than he used to be in AEW, and I'm just gonna give my 2 cents on this. Lexis King is much better in NXT than what he was as Brian Pillman in AEW. He's much better used here, he has a much more prominent role, and he's improved a lot more. So no offense to AEW, but he's just been a ton better here in NXT. Obafemi barges into the locker room of the family and he starts insulting Adriana Rizzo. He mocks her for being short and says that in some cultures, women are meant to be seen, not heard. This enrages the rest of the family and Luca Crucifino really wants to fight Obafemi, but Tony D'Angelo says no and that the underboss Stax will deal with him tonight. Callis is pissed after their big loss tonight and Joe Coffey wants his revenge on Javon Evans and he wants it tonight. But the NQCC arrive and Ren Sinclair starts insulting Joe Coffey and she challenges him to a match for Charlie Dempsey's Heritage Cup. Charlie Dempsey is not very happy about this at all. And he tells Ren to think more in depth about who she challenges for his cup and she needs to make sure they deserve it. And later on tonight, she does have her eyes on someone. Back in the ring, Tatum Paxley faces Rosemary, who is accompanied by Wendy Choo. I really like this tag team of Rosemary and Wendy Choo. I hope they do more with it rather than just keep it like that. But what happened later, we probably will see more of this tag team. And it doesn't matter whether Rosemary is in TNA or NXT, nobody seems to want to build her properly and give her some momentum. She keeps losing and be stuck in some worthless stories. Tatum Paxley wins the match, but she gets attacked by Wendy Choo and Rosemary after the match, only to be saved by her old obsession Lyra Valkyria, who is returning to NXT. My favorite women's wrestler in the world right now back in NXT, you'll love to see it. Pete Dunne is being interviewed only to be jumped by Trick Williams and they keep brawling all throughout backstage. Ava decides to bite the bullet and make this match official right now, sending them to the ring. and in the ring, it's just an absolute brawl. This is probably the best beatdown match we've seen in a while. These two men were just going at it, they hated each other. But eventually, the match ended in a double countout after Pete Dunne and Trick Williams went through the table. But even after the match ended, they kept brawling after the match, hitting each other. Security couldn't keep them apart. This was amazing, I loved it. Total chaos, but perfectly done. We get a message from TNA Knockouts champ Jordynne Grace saying that next week she's coming back to NXT to defend her Knockouts championship in an open challenge. I'm very excited to see her back in NXT, and I have no idea who's going to accept her challenge. We also get a pre-tape segment from Ridge Holland, and he explains why he betrayed Chase U, saying that they needed him more than he needed them. He won the tag team championship for them, and they lost it for him. He says that they're only holding him back, and he's going to go through them all one through one and destroy them all. And as this segment ends, he steps on Duke Hudson's MVP trophy, destroying it, and we're getting Duke Hudson versus Ridge Holland next week. Brooks Jensen is also walking around backstage, and he gets approached by Shawn Spears, who tells him thank you for saving him and that he's the only friend that he's had in a while, and even completely changes up his voice here. This is not how he usually talks, clearly being manipulative. But Brooks Jensen doesn't see it, and Dion Lennox approaches him, tells him that dude, he's clearly manipulating you, but Brooks Jensen doesn't see this. We then get Javon Evans versus Joe Coffey in a really fun match. It doesn't live up to their previous match, but it was still fine and progressed the story. Javon Evans eventually ends up outside of the ring, and the rest of Callis tries to attack him, but he's saved by Cedric Alexander, and this helps Javon Evans pick up the victory over Joe Coffey. This is an exciting tag team match we're probably going to see in the near future. Backstage, Tatum Paxley and Lyra Valkyria reunite, and Lyra says that she forgives Tatum and she'd rather be friends with her, and says that some things are gonna need to change in this relationship for it to work. I'm excited to see what this whole story ends up being. I wonder if Lyra Valkyria is still on the main roster. I hope she didn't get sent back to NXT because I was having very high hopes for her, but it's still fun to see her here. Ava then announces that next week Trick Williams versus Pete Dunne will be in a last man standing match where the winner will face Ethan Page for the NXT championship on the first episode of their move to CW. Obafemi then faces Stax and absolutely destroys him, and you can see the worry in Tony D'Angelo's face, and despite a short comeback attempt from Stax, Obafemi wins and he has a stare down with Tony D'Angelo. This makes me more excited for the rematch honestly than I was for the initial match. I really want to see where the story goes, and hopefully we get a match between Luca Crucifino and Obafemi soon. Brindley Reese is very sad that her former friends are now in the hospital after the attack from Brooks Jensen, so Ashante the Adonis arrives with a rose and says that he'll be a shoulder for her to cry on. Eddie Thorpe then arrives and says that Ashante Adonis needs to get out of here because he's trying to use them at their lowest, and the two of them have a bit of squabble. I've really enjoyed this feud. I'm a big fan of Ashante the Adonis, and I hope this match delivers. Ren Sinclair has a sort of interview with Javon Evans, and after some initial hesitance from Javon Evans, she gives him a match for the Heritage Cup. Charlie Dempsey is not happy with this at all, since now he has to defend his Heritage Cup against Javon Evans next week. This will be a banger of a match. Now in the main event match of the night, Jada Parker goes up against Jasmine Inks and she picks up a victory despite her hurt ribs. I was kinda torn on this result since I think Jasmine Inks should have won and Jada Parker wouldn't have looked bad since she just hurt her ribs. But this was a good match and Jada Parker wins. After the match she gets attacked by Fatal Influence and she's probably gonna need some help now. And I think we got a tease of who her help will be after this. Since backstage, Kalani, Lola Vice, and a lot of the other women on the roster, they're all looking at the monitors, waiting for Giulia to arrive, and Fatal Influence come up to them, and they tell them to get out of here, and they don't care about Giulia. So Jada Parker's allies will probably be Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan. And then, the final segments of the show, Roxanne Perez says that she doesn't care about any women, she will defeat anyone, even if it's a woman on the main roster, a top prospect in NXT, or some international superstar. The lights go out and everybody's expecting Giulia to arrive, but no, it's Chelsea Green, and Chelsea Green claims herself to be the #1 contender for Roxanne Perez's championship. But then, lights go out again, and Giulia finally arrives in NXT. She's here, she gets into the ring, knocks out Chelsea Green, grabs her mic and tells Roxanne Perez that the two of them will have their first match for that championship on the first episode of CW. As I do in the end of each of these videos, I give the show a ranking out of 10 and tonight's episode was a 10 out of 10. It was complete chaos, but that's where NXT is at its best. Chaos. And we can now slowly start to see how they're building things for that first big episode on the CW, and I'm excited for that change because a lot's gonna change. We're probably gonna get some more debuts. I'm just very excited for this, and NXT over the next month is gonna be very interesting to see. And tonight's episode, like I said on my No Mercy review, we're gonna see a big change in NXT, and we saw it tonight. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I cover NXT and TNA weekly along with some other content. So if you're interested in that, leave a like, subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. Love you all and goodbye.